I remember the first text like it was a spark in my chest. "We're going on a trip, pack your bags." I dropped my phone on the couch, heart hammering. Finally, months of scraping, counting, sacrificing little joys, all for this. I could taste the sun on my skin, the salt in the air, the endless laughter. "Can you believe it?" I whispered to myself. Sarah Sepp's reply buzzed almost immediately. "I know, I can wait." Her words should have made me giddy. And they did, mostly. But there was a flicker, something in the punctuation, a pause that didn't belong, like a shadow passing over her excitement. I shook it off. Mark chimed in next. "Better start packing, or Liam Sepp's going to drag you to the airport in last week's Sepp's hoodie." I laughed, the sound loud in my empty apartment. Not a chance. I sapped her. I'm going all out. This trip deserves effort. Liam Sepp's emoji-laden response hit seconds later. "Bet. Don Sepp forget sunscreen. You burn like a vampire." I grinned, feeling the warmth of friendship, the comfort of inside jokes. But still, Sarah's words kept nudging at me, like a whisper I couldn't quite hear. That weekend, I sat on my bed with receipts and spreadsheets, my little empire of budgeting. Every cent had a purpose. Every plan had a backup. I wanted this trip to be perfect for everyone, for us. "Are you seriously going to carry all that?" Sarah asked, when I showed her the half-packed suitcase. "Of course," I said, tightening a strap. "I thought about everything. Beach city, night outs, snacks, drinks, the works." She raised an eyebrow, a faint smirk on her lips. "You set your intense." I laughed, hiding the tiny pang her words caused. I like to be prepared. Mark poked his head in, eyes wide. "You brought that many flip-flops? Do you want sand in your shoes? Because that's how you get sand in your shoes," I said, playful but defensive. Liam collapsed onto the bed. "You Sept are crazy, but fine, I guess it steps better than nothing." We spent hours planning routes, sharing playlists, laughing at old photos and teasing each other. I felt alive, buzzing with anticipation. This was going to be our story, our adventure, our memories forever. But then, Sarah sent another message, a group chat ping. "Hey, let's meet at my place before the trip. Got something to show you guys." I felt a twinge. Something small, almost imperceptible. I shrugged. Maybe it was just nerves. At her apartment, Sarah greeted us with a wide smile, but her eyes flicked to Mark and Liam more than me. "Okay, so, check this out," she said, handing over a glossy brochure. I skimmed it quickly. Sun, beach, cocktails, fun, everything perfect. "This looks amazing." "It is," she said, leaning closer to Mark. "I booked some extra activities. You two will love it." My chest tightened. Extra activities. "Not for me?" Mark laughed, oblivious. "This is going to be insane." Liam nodded, grinning. "Best trip ever." I forced a smile. "Yeah, best trip ever," I echoed, my voice smaller than I intended. Later I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Excitement battled unease inside me. Something subtle had shifted, tiny cracks in the sparkle of anticipation. I couldn't explain it, not yet, but I knew my heart had noticed. Tomorrow, the adventure would begin. The sun would shine, the sea would call, and I would be ready. Except deep down, I had a nagging sense that this trip, my dream trip, was about to test me in ways I hadn't imagined. And somehow I knew things were already not as perfect as they seemed. The plane touched down with a soft jolt, and my heart jumped. Finally, the trip I had dreamed of for months was real. Sun, sea, laughter. It was all ahead of us. "Can you believe we're here?" I breathed, gripping my carry-on like a lifeline. Mark smirked. "Believe it, let's just hope Sarah Sib's directions aren't set a maze." "Directions?" I asked, puzzled. "Oh, you know," Liam said, winking. "Villa tucked away somewhere magical." The drive was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. There was chatter, but it felt calculated. A glance exchanged here, a whisper there. My chest tightened, but I dismissed it. Excitement makes you paranoid, right? When the villa finally appeared, white and gleaming against the sunset, I was in awe. My suitcase barely touched the floor before I ran to the balcony. The sea stretched endlessly, golden under the sinking sun. This is insane," I said, voice trembling with joy. Sarah joined me, smiling. But her eyes flicked to Mark and Liam first. Wait until you see inside, she said, tugging me away. I laughed. You start teasing. Inside everything was perfect. Open space, high ceilings, soft lighting, my carefully mapped out plans, dinners, excursions, beach games, they all felt tangible here, yet as we unpacked, I caught it. The small glances. Liam's phone buzzed, he checked it secretly. Sarah whispered something. Mark laughed too loudly. I shook my head. It's nothing, I muttered, more to convince myself than anyone else. Dinner was in the villa's dining room. Candles flickered, soft shadows dancing across our faces. I had set the table in my mind. Laughter, toasts, clinking glasses, smiles. Instead, Mark raised his glass first, to an unforgettable trip. Sarah and Liam chimed in, to the best friends ever. My throat went dry. I lifted my glass. Cheers, I said, forced. They clinked glasses without looking at me. My smile wavered. A joke? A slip? I laughed it off. This place is incredible, I said, trying to keep my voice light. I can step believe we start actually here. Liam leaned back, phone hidden under the table. Yeah, Sarah Sepp's planning some surprises. You stir going to love it. I forced a nod. Sounds amazing. Inside, unease twisted in my stomach. The itinerary I had painstakingly designed. The excursions I had paid for. It was like it didn't exist. My effort was invisible. After dinner I stepped onto the balcony again. The ocean whispered, calming me, but my mind churned. Beautiful, right? Sarah's voice came from behind. Yeah, I said, eyes on the waves. She hesitated, then added, I might have changed a few things though. Changed? My blood ran cold. Like, oh, just small adjustments. You'll see tomorrow, she said, smile tight, almost unreadable. I nodded, swallowing hard. Okay. Later, lying on my bed, I replayed every glance, every whispered word. My imagination, or reality? The villa was a dream, yes, but so were my friends' smiles, or at least the ones meant for me. Next morning, I tried to shake it. Sunlight poured through the windows. We have so much planned, I said, energizing myself. Beach first, then the market, lunch on the terrace. Mark laughed. Sounds great. Sarah smirked, looking at Liam. We shall see what happens. I frowned, heart sinking. Something was off. My carefully charted plans ignored, twisted, bent, but I kept my voice steady. Perfect. Let's do it. The first excursion was subtle but telling. They whispered, laughed, showed me almost nothing. I carried my bag ready for adventure while they seemed to drift in a bubble of their own. Hey, come on, don't set lag, I called. Relax, you're always in a rush, Liam said, smirk teasing, but the edge was sharp. By lunch I realized what was happening. My excitement had been a lure, my effort a shadow. They were enjoying the trip differently, without me in the center. But I forced a laugh. Okay, fine, I sell chill. Yet the tiny prick of betrayal had dug in. The toasts, the whispered glances, the invisible itinerary, all proof I was becoming a ghost in my own trip. And I didn't like it. Not one bit. I didn't notice it at first. The way they huddled by the terrace, the way Mark's laugh bounced across the villa like it belonged somewhere else. I thought I was imagining it. Excitement had me blind. Hey, I brought the champagne, I said, holding the bottle high. My voice carried across the patio, full of hope. Sarah looked at me, really looked, then smiled. Small and tight. Perfect timing. Mark, get the glasses. I moved closer, trying to join. So what saps the occasion? Mark grinned, setting glasses on the table. Just celebrating us. You know, the trip, the memories. I blinked. Memories. I'd paid for the villa, the excursions, the dinners. Every detail I had saved, every plan I'd meticulously drawn. It was all supposed to be our celebration. I raised my glass, waiting for inclusion. Sarah clinked her glass against Mark's. To us, she said, eyes bright but not for me. To us, Mark echoed, leaning in, laughter spilling between them. I froze. My glass hovered midair. Their smiles, their laughter, the stories they recounted. My name never came up, not once. Remember the market day? Mark said, leaning back, voice rich with amusement. I swear I shall never forget how I got stuck bargaining for that ridiculous hat. Sarah laughed, tilting her head, and Liam, crying over the sea urchin sting. Classic. I stepped closer, trying to insert myself. Hey, don't forget, I organized the whole day. I booked the market tour, the guide, everything. Mark waved a hand. Casual. Sure, sure, but the chaos was what made it memorable. I forced a smile. My chest tightened. Chaos? You mean the chaos I paid for? Sarah raised her glass again. And here steps to many more adventures like this. They clinked. Again. My stomach turned. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the glass. But I didn't. I couldn't. I was frozen, the silent outsider at my own celebration. I took a step back. My eyes roamed, catching snippets of conversation I'd funded, moments I'd made possible, and there they were, laughing about it without me. Come on, say something. Sarah's voice broke through. My words caught in my throat. Rage bubbled beneath disbelief. You scepter. This is what sep's happening. Mark looked at me, confusion crossing his face. Fleeting. Huh? What do you mean? This. I gestured wildly at their champagne-laden table, at the laughter that excluded me. Euster celebrating our memories without me. Sarah Sip's smile faltered. Oh, we didn't set mean it like that. You didn't stet mean it? My voice cracked. You didn't stet mean to humiliate me in front of everyone, laugh over trips I planned and paid for. Mark opened his mouth, but no words came. Sarah's eyes flicked down, guilt hiding behind practiced calm. I gripped my champagne glass, knuckles white, the golden liquid caught the sunset, mocking me, glittering like their smiles. You knew, I said, voice low now sharp. All this, the itinerary, the excursions, everything I set up, and you left me out. Sarah swallowed. We thought it would be fun. Fun? I laughed, bitter. Excluding me is fun? Mark shook his head, helpless. It wasn't stet like that. Really it wasn't stet. Then what was it? I pressed, heart pounding. A joke? At my expense. Silence. The laughter had died down, leaving only the crackling of the fire pit and the faint hum of the ocean. My chest burned. My mind raced. Every whispered conversation, every secret smile, I was just invisible. I felt the betrayal like a knife twisting in my gut. Promises of loyalty, of friendship, now felt like lies stitched into a cruel tapestry. The toast wasn't just a celebration, it was a public display of my exclusion. I wanted to throw the glass, shatter it across the terrace, feel the chaos match my fury, but I didn't. I swallowed it down, let the pain settle like ice in my veins. This is fine, I said, voice tight, controlled. Enjoy your celebration. Sarah opened her mouth, but I didn't wait. I turned and walked toward the villa, the sound of their laughter fading behind me. In the silence of the hallway, I finally let my breath out. My hands shook, rage simmered beneath heartbreak. Invisible, not anymore. I pictured the next steps, every plan I'd carefully hidden until the right moment. Their smiles, their laughter, the way they thought they'd humiliated me, soon they'd understand. But for now, I stayed silent. I let the betrayal sting, sharp and raw, every step, every heartbeat, fueled something dark, something necessary. The toast had taken my excitement, my joy, my trust, but it wouldn't take my resolve. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't be invisible. Not ever again. I didn't talk much after that night. Words felt heavy. My chest felt tight. My stomach knotted. The villa, the sun, even the sea, they should have been my sanctuary. Instead, every laugh outside my door was a knife twisting. Hey, you coming? Liam called from the terrace, voice casual. I shook my head, eyes fixed on the horizon. Not right now. Mark shrugged, probably thinking I was sulking. Suit yourself. Sarah didn't push. Not yet, but I felt it in her eyes. The flicker of guilt, maybe amusement. I couldn't tell. I wandered alone on the beach, toes sinking into wet sand, waves lapping at my ankles. The world felt distant. Their voices echoed in my head, laughter, toasts, stories, every memory I'd funded, every plan I'd made, replayed without me. Why did I even bother? I muttered to the wind. No answer came, only the crash of waves and gulls wheeling overhead. Back at the villa, I hid in quiet corners, notebook in hand. I scribbled itineraries, budgets, reminders. But now for myself, not for them, not for anyone who thought they could erase me with a smile and a clink of champagne. I remembered every glance, every whisper, every smile they shared when they thought I wasn't looking. I had ignored the subtle signs before, now they haunted me. I can step believe I missed it, I whispered, pacing the balcony. How did I not see it coming? Sleep became a stranger. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing imaginary laughter. My stomach refused to settle, my appetite vanished. Each meal I tried to eat felt tasteless, each bite heavy. Maybe I sim overreacting, I told myself. Voice shaky, maybe it sems nothing. But deep down I knew. It wasn't nothing. This was humiliation wearing the mask of camaraderie. The betrayal wasn't subtle anymore. It was engraved into every shared joke, every glance, every toast I wasn't invited to. I caught myself imagining conversations I'd have with them. Do you realize what you did? I'd ask. But then I shook my head. That wasn't me anymore. Not tonight. Not now. Impulse would be my enemy. Patience, my weapon. I spent hours walking the beach at dawn. The sand was cold, damp under my feet. Each step was measured, deliberate, observing the tide, the shells, the way the sun's first light caught the waves. I reminded myself to see, really see, observe before acting. Tomorrow? I whispered. Tomorrow I still figure it out. The villa seemed emptier now, even when they were around. Their chatter, their plans. I let it wash over me without responding. Silence became my shield. I didn't argue. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. Not out loud. My heart ached in ways I hadn't known possible. Anger and sorrow tangled together, leaving me shaking with helplessness. But I refused to let them see it. I refused to hand them another victory. At night, I'd sit on the balcony, notebook open, pen poised. I wrote lists, things I noticed, things I would remember, small signs of their behavior. Every laugh, every whisper, every glance became data. My humiliation, my betrayal, became fuel. Observation, I muttered. Wait. Watch. Learn. I replayed the toast again in my mind. The clinking glasses, their laughter, the stories I made possible, they all existed but without me. My chest tightened just thinking about it. Rage simmered beneath the numbness. I once let this go, I whispered. Not like this. Not ever. No one saw my walks, my quiet corners, the way I scribbled notes and counted glances. I became a shadow in my own trip. But that shadow had eyes, it had memory, it had patience. I let them have the sun, the beach, the laughter. For now, I let them think I was broken, that they had won, but inside I was building, watching, learning, calculating. The villa walls held their voices, but they didn't hold me. I was free in my silence, and my silence would be louder than any toast, any laugh, any exclusion. I promised myself I wouldn't react impulsively. I would wait. I would observe. I would remember. And when the time came, I would act. For now I walked the beach at dawn, feet wet, heart heavy, mind sharp. The world around me seemed quiet, forgiving, but inside I was awake, alert, patient. The silent fallout was mine, and I would turn it into power. By the second night, I knew something had shifted. The villa was quiet, except for the low hum of the ocean, but inside me, a storm was building. My silence, my numb, withdrawn demeanor, was no longer just pain. It was power. Why are you always sulking? Liam asked, as he walked past me, drink in hand. I didn't answer. Not yet. I let him assume it was hurt, that I was fragile, that I could be ignored. Mark glanced at me, frowning. You start kind of killing the vibe, you know. I smiled faintly, a predator smiling at prey. It's sizing up, I in just thinking. Sarah appeared in the doorway, looking concerned, or pretending to. Yusef barely touched your food. Are you okay? I sem fine, I said softly. Really? They left and I closed the door, leaning against it. My chest was tight, but my mind was clear. Every slight, every exclusion, every whispered joke, they were data points, evidence, fuel. I pulled out my phone and started documenting. Screenshots of messages, timestamps, photos from the excursions, every laugh, every glance, every tiny smirk became a note in my mental ledger. I see you. I whispered to the empty room. All of it. The villa was beautiful, yes, but beauty didn't matter. Control mattered, and for the first time, I felt it. The next morning, I observed. They didn't notice me walking along the beach, notebook tucked under my arm, pen scratching quietly. I recorded patterns: who laughed first, who whispered where, who avoided looking at me. Mark tossed a frisbee to Liam. Come on, slowpoke. I stayed back, hiding my presence behind a gentle wave crashing on the shore. My mind traced out scenarios: small nudges, subtle reveals, timing, precision. I've been too visible, I muttered, too eager, too trusting. The day blurred, but I was awake. I watched them, noted their routines, caught their moments of arrogance, their assumptions that I was harmless. And I smiled, quiet, small, but dangerous. Hey, Sarah called as I returned to the villa. Are you joining us for dinner tonight? I'll think about it, I said. Tone casual, casual like nothing mattered, but I meant everything. Alone, I started planning. My mind sketched the entire sequence. Tiny gestures, little truths revealed at the perfect moment. No explosions, no yelling, just quiet, surgical precision. I'd make them notice me, truly notice me, and regret the ease with which they thought they could erase me. I remembered the toast, the laughter, my humiliation. That memory burned, but it wasn't pain anymore, it was fuel. Patience, I murmured. Timing? That evening, I lingered in corners of the villa, taking note of their energy, their moods. I listened to their laughter, not with longing, but with calculation. Every word, every expression became part of my strategy. Come on, join us, Liam yelled from the pool. I shook my head, pen poised in my notebook. Not yet, I whispered. Dinner passed. I stayed at the edge, glass in hand, nodding occasionally. They thought I was defeated. I let them think that. But inside, I was alive in a way I hadn't been since the toast. My mind was sharp, alert, every slight remembered, every betrayal catalogued. I knew their routines, their assumptions, their blind spots. Is she okay? Mark whispered to Sarah across the table. She sups fine, Sarah said, voice just above a whisper. She sups quiet. I smiled faintly at them, quiet, observant, invisible, but I was far from powerless. After dinner, I slipped into the villa's study. My phone, my notebook, my camera, all tools. I started piecing together small moments, subtle proofs of exclusion, tiny humiliations that could be leveraged. I imagined how I'd reveal them carefully, elegantly, like a master pulling strings from the shadows. This isn't spate revenge yet, I whispered. This is preparation, patience, precision, timing. I reviewed the photos from the beach, the villa, the excursions, their laughter caught mid-frame, the side glances, the moments I had been excluded. Each image was a message I could deliver later. I shall make them see, I said to myself. Not just the fun moments, not just the trips, the truth, the betrayal, and they shall wish they never underestimated me. My reflection in the window looked back at me, quiet, steady, eyes sharp, not hurt, not broken, alive, dangerous. By the end of the night, I was exhausted but exhilarated. The first steps had been taken, silently, invisibly. They didn't know it yet, but the power had shifted. I was no longer the passive participant in my own humiliation. I was the architect of what was coming. Tomorrow, I whispered to the dark villa, to the empty ocean beyond. Tomorrow they start noticing. I lay awake long after, plotting, recording, observing. Every heartbeat was a calculation. Every breath, a strategy forming. The toast had been their moment, but mine was coming. And when it did, there would be no hiding, no excuses, no ignorance. Only clarity, only truth, only consequence. Silent, patient, precise. The turning point was mine. The days blurred, the sun rose and fell, waves crashed, and I moved quietly through it all, invisible yet in command. My silence had given me something more valuable than sympathy. Leverage. Hey, you're skipping breakfast again, Liam called, spotting me perched on the balcony with my notebook. I'm full, I said, voice casual, too casual. They thought I was still fragile. They thought I'd been broken. Mark laughed. Man, you've become a ghost. Dawn set vanish on us completely. I'm right here, I replied, smiling faintly. Just observing. Observing was my weapon. Every glance, every shrug, every small act of arrogance, they were catalogued in my mind, recorded in my phone. And now, it was time to act. Quietly, carefully, like water eroding stone. I had booked the villa's best excursions for myself and a few new acquaintances I'd met online. People who were friendly, fun, and oblivious to the trip's undercurrents. Kayaking at sunrise, a sunset yacht ride, even the private cooking class all booked under my name. Wait, you booked what? Liam asked, voice a mix of disbelief and irritation. Just thought I'd try something different, I said, tone light. You guys can join if you want. Spaces are limited. Mark frowned. Limited? But we were going to do that together. Oh, you can still join the public tour. I shrugged, flipping through my notebook. I just thought some exclusive time might be fun. Their confusion was a small, perfect dagger. I watched it bloom, enjoyed it, but didn't gloat. Too early. Timing was everything. That evening, I subtly restructured their plans. A canceled dinner reservation at the seaside restaurant. A delayed taxi to the market. Little things, invisible at first glance, but precise. Where's the driver? Sarah asked, tapping her phone anxiously. Not sure, I said innocently, glancing at my watch. Maybe running late? Liam groaned. Great. Just great. Now we still miss the sunset. Maybe we can walk? I suggested, soft, almost helpful. Mark Sepp's eyes narrowed. Yeah, maybe we should check the schedule ourselves. And that was the point. They had thought I was the powerless one. They hadn't realized that every misstep, every delay was orchestrated quietly by me. Later I sat by the pool, notebook open, pen moving. I catalogued every reaction, every frustrated sigh, every glance of confusion. Each micro mishap added fuel to the fire, each subtle sting a reminder of who was really paying attention. I sat not invisible, I whispered to the water, watching the ripples distort my reflection. I see everything. They didn't notice at first. Their frustration was small, scattered, a background hum, but it grew. I saw it in their voices. In the way Liam muttered under his breath. In the way Mark's jaw tightened, fingers drumming on the table. You really planned this, huh? Liam finally asked. Suspicion creeping in. Planned what? I said. Voice soft, eyes wide. I am just trying to enjoy my trip. Mark leaned back, scanning me, wary now. Something steps off. I smiled faintly. Maybe it steps just the villa steps magic. That night, I documented again. Photos of the tiny chaos, messages, schedules, every missed moment, every frustrated look. It would all matter later. For now, it was subtle. Quiet, delicious. I can't believe how calm she's being. Sarah whispered to Mark as I walked past. Mark shrugged. I don't know. Maybe she sits still hurt. Or maybe she sits plotting something. I froze, heart racing, not from fear, but from thrill. They were finally sensing it, that tiny seed of doubt. The first stirrings of awareness that I was not the weak one. Plotting? I murmured to myself. Oh, I stem beyond plotting. The villa felt smaller now, a chessboard for my moves. I could see the pieces shift, their frustration mounting, their assumption that they were in control slowly cracking. At night, I watched them argue quietly over the canceled reservations. Small voices, tense whispers. I didn't intervene. I didn't need to. Every misstep was mine. Every consequence, a silent reminder that power could be subtle, elegant, surgical. Maybe we are overreacting, Mark said finally. It steps just a few things. Just a few things? Liam scoffed. These aren't sept few things. She seps everywhere. I smiled softly in the darkness. My heart remained human, aware, tender, capable of sorrow, but my mind was precise, calculating. Every action measured, every move deliberate. The small chaos I had orchestrated was not destruction for the sake of destruction. It was proof that I could reclaim my presence, my respect, my voice. I stayed silent, letting the villa echo with their unease. I savored it, quiet, contained, controlled, not revenge yet, not fully, but a promise of what was coming. Tomorrow, I whispered to the night, they still realize the game has changed. And with every subtle strike, every quiet manipulation, I felt my confidence grow. I was no longer the sidelined friend, the invisible guest. I was present, I was seen, and soon they would see it in ways they hadn't imagined. By the end of the day, I was exhausted and exhilarated. The power wasn't loud, it was precise, elegant, delicious, and it belonged to me. Subtle strikes, quiet maneuvers, they were mine. Every micro mishap, every stolen moment, every tiny victory was proof I was no longer powerless. And I was just getting started. I spent the day preparing. Every detail, every frame, every subtle reveal planned like a director setting a stage. The villa hummed with expectation, unaware of the show about to unfold. "Hey, are you ready for tonight?" Liam asked, strolling into the lounge. I smiled, calm, composed, almost just putting the final touches. He nodded, oblivious. "Can set wait. It sets our last night should be perfect." Perfect. Yes. Perfect for the reveal. I had personalized invitations waiting for everyone, carefully worded to make Sarah and Mark think they were included in the main celebration. In reality, they were being led to a carefully constructed stage of exposure. The guests arrived, friends I'd met on the trip, a few locals I'd befriended, all enthusiastic, all part of my plan. Everyone else mingled in the main lounge, unaware of the undercurrent. I watched from a corner, glass in hand, calm but electric. "Where's Sep's Sarah?" one friend asked. "She Sep's coming," I said, tone casual like nothing was off. Mark too, just fashionably late. Minutes passed. Then I saw them, Sarah and Mark, smiling, thinking this was their final toast, their moment to bask in friendship and laughter. They didn't see the subtle shifts, the way the room hummed differently, the camera pointed discreetly, the table arranged to highlight truth. "Hey everyone," Sarah called as she walked in. "Ready for the final toast?" I smiled faintly. "Of course. But before that, let Seps take a look at the trip, shall we?" I tapped my glass lightly. The lights dimmed, a slideshow flickering to life on the wall. First image? The toast. Their faces, laughing, clinking glasses, my glass hovering untouched at the edge. Every detail clear. Every betrayal frozen in time. Sarah Sip's smile faltered. Her eyes flicked to me. What is this?" Mark frowned. "Wait. Why?" I raised a hand. "It stops all here. Every little moment. Every laugh at my expense. Every exclusion. Every whisper." The room murmured softly. Guests glanced between me and the screen, sensing tension, drama. You put this together?" Sarah asked, voice trembling. I nodded, calm, precise. "Yes, and it's not just photos." I tapped my tablet, and short video clips played, side glances, messages I had recorded, subtle gestures captured when they thought no one was watching. Mark Sepp's jaw tightened. "We didn't stet. This is awkward," I supplied gently.
Embarrassing even.
"But it Seps the truth. Every moment you made me feel invisible, every time you thought you could erase me, it Seps here." I let the words hang, the room thick with tension. Sarah's hands shook. She opened her mouth, closed it again. Her voice cracked. You Sepshid been keeping all this." "Isped been observing," I said, tone measured, almost clinical. "Isped been cataloging every detail, watching, listening, noting, and now, you stare the ones exposed." Liam and the other guests murmured, impressed, captivated. Mark's face went pale. His confident posture, the one he relied on like armor, faltered. "You think this is funny?" he spat, voice tight. "Funny?" I let a soft chuckle escape. "No. Enlightening for you especially. A reminder that actions have consequences, even subtle ones." Sarah sank into a chair, guilt and horror mingling in her expression. We didn't stet mean to." "Didn't stet mean to?" I echoed, voice low but sharp. "You excluded me. Publicly. Repeatedly. You thought I was powerless. Invisible, but look at the reality." The screen continued to flicker. Photos of the villa, the excursions, the whispered conversations, the small smirks, they all told the story. A story of betrayal, subtle yet undeniable. Mark opened his mouth to speak, then stopped. I could see the internal reckoning, the realization that their carefully maintained facade had cracked. "A figure Sarah whispered, almost to herself. "I can stet. I didn't stet think." "That seps the point," I said softly. You didn't think, and now you see. I let my gaze linger, calm but unyielding. I didn't need to yell, didn't need to demand apologies. The exposure, the quiet truth was enough. Every reaction, every tremor in their voice, every flicker of guilt, it was the payoff. You've gone too far, Mark muttered finally. Too far? I repeated, voice sharp. No, just far enough, just precise enough. Justice doesn't have to be loud, it can be subtle, elegant, inevitable. Sarah's lips pressed together. Her hands trembled. She looked around, aware now of every guest observing the reveal. The shame, the recognition, the horror. It was cinematic, beautiful, precise, and entirely deserved. I raised my glass. To clarity, I said softly, to truth, and to finally being seen. The room was quiet, save for the soft hum of cameras and the occasional gasp. My eyes met Sarah's. Shock, guilt, horror. They all danced across her face, unguarded, raw. And I watched, satisfied but tempered. Revenge had a taste both sweet and bitter. I had struck, subtly, precisely, but I also felt the residue of the past, the hurt, the heartbreak, the betrayal lingering like smoke. Yet for the first time, I wasn't broken. I wasn't invisible. I was present, seen, in control. The masks had fallen, and I had orchestrated it. The aftermath was quieter than I expected. No shouting, no tears, just a room filled with the weight of truth, hanging thick like humid air over the villa. Sarah Sepp's eyes darted around the lounge, landing on me, then on the screen replaying the toast, the messages, the subtle gestures I had captured. Her hands trembled. I didn't realize. Didn't realize what? I asked softly, voice calm, almost gentle. That you noticed. Everything, she whispered. Noticed? I echoed. I documented it, every detail, every laugh at my expense, every exclusion, every moment you thought I was invisible. I saw it all. Mark leaned back, jaw tight. We didn't think. Exactly, I said, soft but precise. You didn't think, and that's why this moment exists. Not because I wanted revenge, not because I wanted humiliation, but because actions have consequences. And you forgot that part. Liam shifted uncomfortably, watching the tension, understanding, but silent. He had been caught between friends, a witness rather than a participant. Why? Why are you so composed? Sarah asked. Voice low, almost afraid. I smiled faintly. Because I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need a scene. All I needed was patience, observation, precision. Mark Sepp's shoulders slumped. The confident armor he carried all trip dissolving. So, this is payback. Not payback, I corrected. Voice calm, deliberate, karmic balance, cause and effect. You treated me as expendable. I treated the truth with care. That Sepp's the difference. The slideshow continued, images and video clips of every subtle betrayal playing out like a cinematic reel. Guests murmured softly, impressed, uneasy. The evidence was undeniable, elegant, unavoidable. You really kept all this? Sarah asked again, incredulous, voice almost a whisper. Yes, I said simply, and now you see it. Not through anger, not through confrontation, but through clarity. Truth. You can argue with facts, can you? They couldn't. Mark opened his mouth, then closed it. Words failed him. Guilt and recognition replaced arrogance. Sarah's lips pressed together, eyes welling. We didn't mean to, she started. No, I interrupted softly. Intentions don't erase outcomes, choices do, and your choices excluded me, belittled me, erased me. Now, you start facing the consequences. Quietly, inevitably. Liam exhaled, shifting his gaze between us. Wow. I didn't realize how much planning went into this. Planning? I said, leaning back, relaxed, untouchable. It's planning if it patience. Observation. Timing. I didn't have to force anyone to see me. I just made sure they couldn't have to ignore me. Sarah Sipp's shoulders sagged, a mix of shame and acknowledgement. I should noticed. I should Noticing now is enough, I said gently. Recognition is the first step. The rest is up to you. Mark Sepp's voice was quiet, resigned. I guess we underestimated you. And that, I said softly, was your mistake, nothing more. The tension didn't explode. There were no dramatic confrontations, no shouting matches, just recognition, acknowledgement, and the subtle shift of power. My victory wasn't about humiliation. It was about control reclaimed. I walked slowly to the balcony, the night air cool against my skin. The villa glowed softly behind me. I could hear Sarah and Mark murmuring apologies among themselves, tentative, awkward, but it didn't matter. They had learned their lesson, quietly, naturally. Liam came up beside me. You really pulled this off, he said, voice a mix of awe and relief. I didn't pull anything off, I said, watching the moonlight ripple over the water. I just let the truth speak for itself. And that was the essence of power. Not aggression, not loud confrontation, but subtle, meticulous control. I hadn't needed to yell. I hadn't needed to shame. Every whisper, every exclusion, every slight had been quietly repaid by observation, patience, and timing. Inside, Sarah and Mark were processing, fractured, humbled, aware. Outside, the villa was calm. The night embraced quiet reflection. I felt the sweet pulse of vindication, tempered with the bittersweet knowledge of the cost. Hurt had been transformed into power, humiliation into clarity, betrayal into lessons. You stir different, Sarah whispered finally. Voice low, raw, not broken, like we thought. Different, I repeated softly. I learned that strength isn't set loud. It sets precise. It sets patient. It sets careful, and it sets mine. Mark nodded slowly, a silent acknowledgement. No words could undo what had been revealed, and no arrogance remained. They understood now, my presence, my value, my vision. I looked out at the waves, cool and steady, relentless like the strategy I had executed. Calm, powerful, untouchable. This was never about revenge, I whispered to myself, watching the moonlight dance on water. It was about reclaiming control, my control. And in that quiet, undeniable moment, I realized I had. No yelling, no confrontation, no theatrics, just truth, precision, patience, and the natural shift of power from them to me. Karmic payback. Subtle, elegant, complete. I had turned humiliation into triumph, betrayal into clarity, and finally I was untouchable. The villa was quiet now, empty. The echoes of laughter, whispers, and tension had faded, leaving only the hum of the sea outside and the soft brush of wind against the balcony. I sank into the chair, arms resting on the railing, and let myself breathe. I can't believe it's over, I murmured almost to myself. The trip, the betrayal, the subtle strikes, the exposure, it all culminated in this quiet aftermath. The truth hit me slowly. Revenge hadn't been about cruelty. It had never been about shaming them for the world to see. It had been about reclaiming what was mine. My dignity, my presence, my voice. I remembered Sarah's face that night. The flicker of recognition, guilt, and horror, Mark's silence. Liam's awe, all of it had been orchestrated, precise, elegant, and yet, even in victory, I realized something profound. You know, I whispered, watching the waves catch the last light of sunset. My mistake wasn't trusting them. It was expecting loyalty. I didn't control. I laughed softly, bitter but honest. I expected too much from people who only see what they want to see. My phone buzzed lightly, a text from a friend. You were incredible tonight. I've never seen anything like it. I smiled faintly. Incredible, I muttered. Maybe. Or maybe just patient. The villa felt empty, almost sacred now. Each corner held memories of subtle battles fought, quiet victories earned. The weight of the past weeks pressed against me, but it wasn't heavy. It was grounding. I had survived, thrived, even. I stood and walked slowly along the balcony, letting the ocean breeze sweep across my face. Scars intact, I murmured, stronger than before. The sunset bled gold and crimson across the horizon. A quiet warmth settled in my chest, not triumph in the way movies show, no explosions, no applause, just the knowledge that the world hadn't punished them. I hadn't needed to, and yet justice had arrived. I could still hear snippets of voices in my mind. I didn't think she noticed. She planned all of this. They underestimated her. Each echo was a reminder. I hadn't reacted impulsively. I hadn't let anger dictate me. Every move had been measured, and now, in the stillness, I could finally feel the calm after the storm. I sank to the floor of the balcony, legs tucked under, and let my mind wander. I learned, I whispered. I grew. I survived. I thought about the people I had called friends, the faces that had smiled while subtly excluding me. It was instead them, I said quietly. It was my expectation that they stepped honor the unspoken loyalty. That was my flaw. But I also saw the strength it had forced out of me. I had transformed hurt into strategy, humiliation into precision, betrayal into lessons, and I wasn't bitter. Not truly. I was aware. A cool breeze ruffled my hair. I closed my eyes. The waves whispered their eternal rhythm, unyielding, steady. I realized I could walk away now, free, untethered from the weight of their choices. I didn't need their acknowledgement. I didn't need apologies, though a few had come, awkward and timid. Thank you, I whispered softly, to no one, not for their apologies. They were meaningless, but for the lesson, for the clarity, for the strength I now held. I opened my eyes. The villa gleamed behind me, lights dimmed, quiet. My suitcase was packed. Ready, not just to leave the villa, but to leave behind the expectations, the pain, the subtle scars of betrayal. Head high, I murmured, standing tall, eyes forward, scars intact, stronger than before. I took a deep breath, the sun dipping completely below the horizon, leaving a soft twilight glow. The warmth I felt wasn't anger, wasn't revenge. It was peace, quiet, steady, earned. Footsteps on the terrace behind me, Liam smiling softly, his presence gentle. You okay? He asked. I nodded. Better than okay? Ready for anything. He raised an eyebrow. Even if life throws the same nonsense at you. Especially then, I said, a small, confident smile tugging at my lips. I sep learned, I sep grown, I sep won stronger, and I once it be invisible again. We walked inside together, the villa empty, the air heavy with history yet light with closure. The trip had ended, the betrayal had been acknowledged. Justice, subtle but complete, had arrived. I paused at the door, glancing back at the balcony where the sun had kissed the horizon one last time. This is me, I whispered, stronger seen, untouchable. And with that, I stepped forward. Forward into the night, forward into the world, forward into the life I had reclaimed. No bitterness, no lingering anger, only clarity, only strength, only self. I had fallen, I had risen, and I was whole. Months later, I found myself scrolling aimlessly through my feed. The world moved fast, relentless, but something caught my eye. Sarah's profile. Carefully curated, polished photos. Smiles frozen in filters. Yet, empty, hollow. I paused. So this is what it looks like, I whispered to myself. The echo of a facade. I clicked through her posts, noting the subtleties. Laughter without warmth. Vacations without spontaneity. Captions without joy. Everything was staged, like a play performed for strangers. But the spark, the authenticity was gone. A message popped up from one of the new acquaintances ISL'd met during the villa trip. Hey, remember that night? Still blows my mind. I smiled faintly. Yes, still perfect. I typed back, careful, measured. It hit me then. The ultimate revenge isn't destruction. Not shouting, not confrontation, not humiliation. It's rising above. It's thriving while they stagnate in hollow repetition, still bound by the ghosts of their choices. I remembered the villa, the subtle strikes, the masks falling, the calculated exposures, the calm aftermath, the quiet acknowledgement of truth. That power, the one they never realized I wielded, lingered invisible yet undeniable. You survived, I murmured to myself. You weren't sept broken, you adapted. And thrive I did. My life had moved forward, brighter, freer, each day felt deliberate, intentional, unshadowed by the past. I had no need to boast. My story didn't need telling, it lived in my presence, in my confidence, in every subtle choice I made. Liam Supp's voice echoed in my mind, from that last night at the villa. You cert ready for anything now, aren't you? I had laughed softly then, and I smiled again now. Yes, I was ready, always ready. A notification appeared, another friend tagging me in a photo from a weekend getaway. I scrolled through the comments, Laughter, excitement, connections, life unfiltered, uncurated, authentic, mine. I leaned back in my chair, letting the sunlight warm my face. This is power, I said softly. Silent, enduring, unseen, but absolute. The subtle satisfaction of watching their curated emptiness from afar was delicious. Not vindictive, not cruel, just proof, proof that actions ripple, even when they think no one notices. I tapped my phone again, a text to another new friend. Dinner tonight? I found this new little place. Yes, I typed back. Sounds perfect. The villa, the toast, the subtle strikes, the masks falling, it all seemed like a distant memory now, yet it was alive, humming quietly beneath the surface. My scars were proof of survival, of awareness, of strength. They weren't weaknesses, they were milestones. Scrolling further, I noticed Sarah had posted a story, her smile staged, her caption hollow, living my best life. I laughed softly, a quiet, satisfied sound, living without understanding, without the depth of reality, that seps your echo. I turned off the screen, letting silence settle around me. My own life beckoned, full of possibility, of connections untainted by betrayal, of days that mattered because I chose them. A soft breeze ruffled the curtains. I inhaled deeply, letting the moment sink in. I had risen, not through chaos, not through confrontation, not through shouting, through patience, strategy, and understanding my own worth. Ultimate revenge, I whispered, voice barely audible, is freedom, is thriving, is not needing them at all. And I did. Thrive, move, live, laugh. Every day felt deliberate, a quiet assertion of power and presence. I glanced once more at the empty horizon outside my window. The world stretched forward, vast and endless, and I was ready, scarred, aware, unstoppable. No lingering bitterness, no desire for destruction, just life, lived deliberately, fiercely, beautifully. The echoes of the past whispered softly, but they no longer held me. They belonged to them, their hollow smiles, their curated emptiness, their lessons unlearned. I had learned mine, and I had risen. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. I stood, stretching, feeling the weight of scars and triumph alike. My story was unspoken, but it was evident. My presence, my choices, my strength, they spoke louder than any confrontation ever could. I stepped outside into the warmth of the evening, into life reclaimed, into silent victory. The echoes were theirs. I had moved beyond.